A freshly struck silver denarius, gleaming in the Roman sun, felt substantial in the hand. Its weight, a reliable 3.9 grams of nearly pure silver, represented a day's skilled labor for many, a testament to Rome's formidable economic power. This coin, trusted across a vast empire, paid the legions, built the aqueducts, and facilitated the trade that flowed from Britannia to Egypt. For centuries, it was the bedrock of Roman prosperity, a physical promise of stability. But even as the empire expanded, the very forces that built it began to erode this foundation. A slow, almost imperceptible change would begin to alter the nature of that gleaming coin, and with it, the fate of Rome itself. The Roman economic engine, in its early centuries, ran on this unwavering standard. The denarius, a coin of high-purity silver, was not merely a medium of exchange. It was a symbol of Rome's reliability. Its consistent value fostered public trust, making transactions predictable and fair. A legionary, receiving his pay in denarii, knew the coin's worth would hold. A merchant in Gaul or North Africa could accept it with confidence, knowing its intrinsic value was respected from one end of the empire to the other. This stable currency was the lifeblood of the Roman state. It financed the vast legions, ensuring their loyalty and equipping them for relentless campaigns that expanded and defended the empire's borders. It underwrote ambitious infrastructure projects, the roads that connected distant provinces, the aqueducts that brought water to burgeoning cities, the monumental public buildings that proclaimed Rome's grandeur. And crucially, it facilitated widespread trade, allowing goods and services to flow freely, knitting together a diverse and expansive dominion. The silver denarius was, for a long time, the physical manifestation of Roman might and order. Yet, the very scale of Rome's ambition and its success began to sow the seeds of its own financial strain. The relentless pressures of defending an enormous empire, stretching across 3 continents, demanded constant military expenditure. Garrisoning distant frontiers, suppressing rebellions, and launching new campaigns required immense resources, paid for in coin. Grand imperial projects, designed to glorify emperors and pacify populations, drained the treasury further. These were endless demands on finite reserves of precious metals, primarily silver. Compounding this, tax revenues, always a challenge to collect efficiently across such a vast territory, began to decline in certain regions, leaving emperors with a widening gap between income and expenditure. The state needed money, and the traditional sources were proving insufficient. Faced with these mounting financial pressures, Roman emperors began to resort to a dangerous, quick fix, currency debasement. The first subtle step was taken under Emperor Nero in 64 AD. He reduced the silver content of the denarius from its traditional purity to around 90%. To the casual observer, the coin still looked and felt much the same. This was the insidious mechanism of deception, secretly reducing the precious metal content of coins while maintaining their face value. The state could then mint more coins from less raw material, effectively stretching its spending power without explicitly raising taxes or declaring bankruptcy. It was a way to pay soldiers and finance projects with an illusion of solvency, a quiet dilution of the empire's monetary promise. What began as a subtle alteration under Nero quickly accelerated into a dramatic and destructive trend. The practice became more brazen, the reductions more drastic. Emperor Caracalla, in 215 AD, introduced a new coin, often referred to as the double denarius, or Antoninianus. This coin was meant to have twice the face value of a standard denarius, yet it contained only about 1.5 times the weight of silver. It was a particularly deceptive move, a blatant attempt to inflate the currency while presenting it as a larger, more valuable coin. The state gained a temporary advantage, but the fraud was increasingly evident to those who handled the coinage daily. By the time of Emperor Gallienus, in the mid-3rd century, the situation had become catastrophic. The denarius, once a symbol of purity, was now often a mere 5% silver. The coin had become little more than a bronze core, thinly coated with a wash of silver that quickly wore off with handling. The true, meager worth of the coin was revealed, often within weeks of its circulation. The physical object, once solid and reliable, now betrayed its intrinsic worth with every transaction. The illusion of value was becoming impossible to maintain. For ordinary Romans, this accelerating debasement was not an abstract economic theory. It was a slow-burning catastrophe that devoured their savings and shattered their daily lives. Merchants, no longer trusting the intrinsic value of these increasingly debased coins, demanded more and more of them for their goods. This led to rampant inflation, a relentless rise in prices that eroded purchasing power. What once cost a single denarius now required many, then dozens, then hundreds of increasingly worthless pieces of metal. By 265 AD, prices across the empire had skyrocketed by an astonishing 1,000%. The market stalls, once bustling with confident exchange, became arenas of suspicion and constant haggling over the true worth of coinage. This economic chaos created an erosion of public confidence that went far beyond mere financial inconvenience. The profound betrayal of trust in the currency meant that the very foundation of the economy began to fracture. People stopped accepting imperial coinage at its face value, or even at all. Trade, once facilitated by the reliable denarius, broke down into localized barter systems. Farmers might refuse to sell their grain for imperial coins, preferring to exchange it directly for tools or services. The coherent, integrated economy of the Roman Empire began to splinter, retreating to a more primitive system of direct exchange, undermining the very concept of a unified market. The state, too, found its foundations crumbling under the weight of its own debasement. Soldiers, the backbone of imperial power, found their pay increasingly worthless. A legionary, risking his life for Rome, would receive a handful of coins that barely bought a loaf of bread. This led to demands for higher wages, which emperors, desperate to maintain military loyalty, often granted. Caracalla, for instance, raised military pay by 50%, but this simply poured more debased currency into the economy, further fueling the inflationary spiral. The state was caught in a vicious cycle, its attempts to solve the problem only making it worse. This crisis crippled the state's ability to govern. How could taxes be collected effectively in a currency that no one trusted? How could public works be funded? The state struggled to maintain order and authority when its own financial instruments were viewed with contempt. Its power to project influence, to keep its vast machinery running, was severely undermined. The trust between the ruler and the ruled, implicit in the value of a shared currency, had been shattered. The profound betrayal of monetary trust, initiated by emperors seeking quick solutions to complex problems, stands as a critical factor in the Roman Empire's eventual decline. While not the sole cause, this deliberate destruction of the currency undermined economic stability, fractured the intricate web of trade, and contributed significantly to political fragmentation. The gleaming silver denarius, once a symbol of Rome's strength, became a tarnished, bronze-coated reminder of imperial desperation. By the late 3rd century, the coin that had once been 98% pure silver now contained a paltry 0.5% of the precious metal, a stark physical testament to an empire that had, in its financial manipulations, betrayed itself.